All right. Welcome to Witchcraft and Voodoo, episode 5, right? 5 we're up to now. And I'm here with, why don't you introduce yourself?
Well, sure, okay. I'm Sable Aradia. I'm a Wiccan Priestess and a traditional witch. I've been practicing a while. My compatriot here is...
Lilith Dorsey. I am a Voodoo Priestess, and I've been practicing a long time, 25 plus years now. And tonight we were going to talk a little bit about, from our different traditions, the deities. In my traditions, we call them Loa and Orisha, and we're going to talk about, I guess, how they function and different ones and different things people can do to sort of understand them better. And I'm really excited about this because I think that there's just so much, and a lot of people connect through deity in a lot of different ways, be it through like dream work or ritual work or spell crafting or, anything that they can think of, song, art. There's so many ways that people can connect, and I think it's really a beautiful thing. It can be really a personal thing, but it's also something that we can share together with other people who also worship and are devoted to the same deities that we have. So that makes it really, really beautiful.
Right on. I've been looking forward to this discussion, actually. It's so interesting in polytheistic faiths. Deity is so nuanced, right? There's so many different deities that you connect to, and what that means to each individual person varies. My understanding of what the gods are all about may be totally different from your understanding what the gods are all about, and it's all equally valid, right? And that's one of the things that I think is unique. So why don't you start? Let's hear about the Orisha and the Loa and everybody else.
Well, let me saying that we don't have a set number. Some people say there's 201 or 401 or 1001, which is as many as you can think of, and then add one more, because at the center of it, there's this concept called Ashe, which is a divine life force and energy force. It's usually spelled A-S-H-E or A-X-E with a little thing over the X, depending on, where you are. If you're talking about Brazil or in, in Haiti, but it's the same word pretty much loud. It's Ashe, and that goes through all things. And the reason that I consider them pagan religions, even though people don't like that word and people get upset about that word and it's got a lot of negative press, but it's because to me that they have to deal with things from the earth. I spent a lot of time with my dear friend Isaac Bonowitz of the word paganism, and to me, because we worship Oshun as a deity of the river, then that makes it a pagan tradition, even though that she's an Orisha that is the river, and also the those the qualities of love, the qualities of healing, the qualities of the us. It's a full spectrum of everything that has the Ashe, and the Ashe of Oshun. I think it's very different traditions, because for us, we can have, that's the same thing as having that energy there with us, or we can have Oshun that we know, Santera, who'd been crowned for 30 years, that she's also representative of that energy. So they're just different facets of the same sacred energy that we're worshiping. And like I said, they can be 1 or 1,000. And the reason that really comes down to is because anyone has the chance to become deified. So if you live a good life and you do a lot of wonderful things and you help a lot of people, then after you've passed, people will still do offerings and pray to you and do rituals to you. And, then you get to become years, but eventually, after enough time, you end up getting deified and people make little statues to you. And yeah, so that's the simple version of what happens, but it's very complicated.
That's pretty in depth. That's
in there. I know.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay. I was getting some weird feedback there. Just so you know, I don't know if it's affecting everybody or just me. It could have been just my line, my computer being weird. But just letting you know it was there. right?
Okay.
So yeah, okay, cool. I didn't mean to interrupt you. It's just I got a pause in the frame, so I thought you were finished. If you're not finished, then by all means continue. I think that's really interesting, the idea of being deified, becoming one of the Loa or the Orisha.
It is. I think that, I guess, everybody who's really, would aspire to, but it's something that, we can have a connection to. Like in New Orleans, we have a divinity or an Aloha called Annie Christmas. And Annie Christmas she's associated with the Oguns because she's very masculine, even though she was a woman. And she worked on the streetcar, and she was like an engineer. And it was, be an engine of those Ogun qualities with metal, with machinery, with things like that. And she was very strong. And because of that, people became where the streetcar crosses over near the Mississippi at the edge of Jackson Square on the Riverwalk. So, it's like something that people can have that connection to the living history.
Right.
Or it can be somebody, if we talk about Shango's back to the 40s, so we're talking about something, but who's a devotee of Shango that people are worshiping through that avatar.
Right. That's really cool. I think that in Wicca, right, the idea of deity is much more nebulous, right? Like there's different ways of understanding deity, right? One is that there is this universal one, and the deities that we interact with are aspects of that one. Another idea is that there is God and Goddess, right? They created the universe and everything else is different faces of them, right? And then another idea is that it's all kind of really about psychology. These are personifications of ideas that we have, archetypes, right? That we connect with by giving them names and relating to them on a human level. And then there's the idea that they're all completely independent beings with their own individual agency, right? And there's variations of all this, but all of it is it's all considered a valid way of understanding Wicca, right? And for us, our deities are very syncretic. We get them from a lot of different cultures. Primarily, they come from the Greco-Roman pantheon, the Norse pantheon, and the Celtic pantheon, and there's a couple of Hindu deities that cross over too, right? And we borrow them. We borrow them wholesale. Our understanding of, say, Aphrodite, who is a deity who is pretty important to most Wiccans, and she's changed, right? She's seen as sort of a love and sex deity among modern Wiccans, and it's not exactly what she was in Greece. She was more of a goddess of relationships, right? She ruled over friendships as well as love, and marriage was definitely not her forte. That was Hera's, right? But now people tend to call on her in marriages, and I don't know, but okay, so we borrow her wholesale. Our understanding's a little different. Her aspect kind of is seen as connecting to other love goddesses that have existed, like, say, Astarte, right? And they're all seen as having connections. Either they, I don't know, maybe get together in a committee over love matters, if you believe in their individual agency, or they're sort of overlapping ideas that have a lot in common, or they're even seen as aspects of the same idea that we give different names to and relate to in different ways, right? And our idea of God and Goddess are especially syncretic. Our God idea, the horned god, right, is the god of Wicca, right? And he's sort of a syncretic combination of Pan, say Heron and Cernunnos from the Celts, right? And like I don't know, a little bit of even deities like Shiva, right? From and Dionysus, right? And they all kind of come together to form our idea of.
Oh, now you're back. Okay.
Oh yeah, you went blank for a minute too. I don't know what's going on. I hope this isn't all translating to us being totally not understandable on the recording, but okay, but anyway, yeah.
Before, I think they're gone, but okay.
Right. So okay, so the horned god, he's a syncretic idea, and he combines different aspects of different deities from different cultures, right? The star goddess is kind of how we see, well, okay, there's the Great Mother, the star goddess, sometimes they're one and the same, right? A lot of our idea of her, people will argue with me on this one, but I think they're wrong. And it comes from the Book of the Law, right? Which of course was written by Aleister Crowley, as sort of channeled by his wife at the time, and is the foundation of modern Thelema. And their idea of the goddess, the star goddess there, right, Babylon, right, influences much of how the Wiccan goddess is seen. But also we draw on a lot of, you know, Earth Mother aspects and whatnot. And that's become very mingled together in modern culture. So these are different things. As far as some more polytheist-leaning Wiccans, the ones who tend to believe more in individual agency, also incorporate ancestor worship. And this is part of, like, British traditional witchcraft uses this too. When we refer to somebody as old so-and-so, right? They're one of the old ones who contributed to the tradition, right? So, or to paganism as a whole. Like, I've actually called upon old Isaac Bonowitz, speaking of your friend, right, as someone who has influenced the craft, right? So, yeah, so, you know, when they talk about old Dorothy Clutterbuck, right, she's an ancestor that they're referring to of the tradition, right? So that would be the closest, I guess, that we would come to this idea that you can be deified. But on the other hand, you're sort of encouraged to recognize the divinity within yourself. Like, we're all parts of divinity. There's different metaphors for understanding that. And, you know, so the mystery of the dying and reborn deity, right? The dying and reborn God legends that we have, it's a lesson for us in that we are more than this, right? You know, more than this crude matter, right? We go on, right? So relating to that, as a result, a lot of Wiccans believe in reincarnation, but that's another topic entirely. But yeah, okay, so that's what I have to say about that, and about the moment. Well, so I don't know, the Orisha and the Loa, right? What is the difference between the two? I'm pretty sure I know, but maybe other people don't, right? And are there different ways in which they are seen depending?
Seen when?
Well, depending on, you know, who's relating to them and under what circumstances, and do different traditions see them in different ways, you know, right?
Okay.
Like yeah.
All right, I got it. Excuse me. Okay. Is usually what's called when they're the hate Voodoo. So that would be, that's either spelled L-O, it's Creole, so there's a lot of variation in spelling. I can see a lot of variation in Creole spelling among Creoles, so that's just how it is. And Orisha would be, or I-S-H-A, would be in Lukumi, which people know as Santeria, and O-R-I-X, Candomblé, so that would be that. And there is, yeah, everybody has their own, like, for a long time in Haiti and even, you know, back in Cuba, it would be that you were born into a family, so your line followed that line. So the entire line would be, you know, they would be a line of, let's say, you know, Ogu Balindo, which is a healer, and everybody there would be in this healing line, and they'd be, it's kind of like, you know, more the it was ago anyway. If your father was a blacksmith, turns out you would be a blacksmith, a healer, because you would have those properties. So ones, but there's also separate individual ways of interacting with them. And I know I've mentioned before on this show that in Lukumi, daughter of obviously a different way, I'm going to interact with Oshun because she's my patron goddess, my head, my mother goddess. So that's going to be much different than I would with somebody else. But you threw so many good things out, so I have so many questions. Okay. That you brought up, Crowley. I just went to a Nuit ceremony with a bunch of people, and so that jaunt for the month, so that was entertaining.
Right? Yeah.
It does seem to be a lot of people's conception of the goddess, and people can accept it in that manifestation where in which they present it. So that's great. I think it's great that you, Isaac, would love it. I should have told during the sex show we did, I should have told the story about how we had to share a room once, and you know, like we check in, it was like a total joke. There was only one bed in the hotel room. So, and we were exhausted and we were driving all night, and you know, we never had a relationship. It was totally platonic, but we were the best of friends for years. And so we're in there. He couldn't sleep because he was afraid I would think I could sleep because I was afraid he would think that he was drifting onto that side of the bed. So neither of us, we were in Quantico, Virginia, where the FBI and the Pentagon is. It was hilarious.
Oh dear.
It was so, oh my God. Too much.
I've been in that situation in more than one pagan festival, I have to say.
So funny. Oh my gosh, it was great. But you mentioned this thing of them working together, which I think is interesting because we have certain energies that work together, but then we have ones that totally, like Shango and Ogun, totally do not complete, and you do not, I don't even like to say them in the same sentence, you know, because it's that kind of tension between brothers. There's mythology and history that supports it, but that's just what our practices are, you know.
I won't say that it's entirely an easy relationship, right? Like there are some who believe very strongly in not mixing pantheons, right? I tend to be a little bit more, you know, like there are some deities who do not get along, right? Like, okay, Thor and Hecate do not like each other. They don't. Like, I've had them, I was at a ceremony, somebody called on them both, I don't even remember why, right? And it was like, you know, the tension in the air was so thick, you know, and you could tell they were both putting on their best, like, you know, the energy of them was they were putting on their best diplomatic face so that they're not, like, you know, starting an interpantheon war, right? But they really didn't, you know, like, you know, Thor is everything that Hecate doesn't like and vice versa, right? So it's like, you know, but on the other hand, right, Hecate has been known to work with some of the other goddesses who are seen as crone goddesses or triple goddesses. Of course, Hecate's the historical basis for Hecate being a crone goddess is very thin. The Greeks did not see her that way at all, right? But we do, right, in the modern era. So she's picked up a little bit of that, or our version of her has, right? So, you know, like she might work with, say, Caradwin, right, from the Celtic pantheon, but you know, she probably doesn't get on too well with, well, I don't know, like Thor was an example. I imagine that, oh, I don't know. I can't even think of it, but you get the idea, right? You know,
Yes.
it's not always an easy thing. And some people believe you should not mix pantheons at all because I don't know, there's different reasons, and it ranges from everything to clarify the aspect that you're working with if you're thinking of them in terms of archetypes, right? And don't mix that archetype up because you'll get mixed messages and mixed energies that you'll be working with, right? Or it can range to, you know, if we're going to go to, I don't know, we're going to go to Pan's territory, right? I'm going to ask Pan for help. He might be a little pissed off if we think that he needs Heron to help him out, you know, like, right? Because that's his area,
Sure.
you know? So, you know, and it's valid, right? Like my experience is different from other people's experiences, some people have kind of a general, you know, like this, the gods are all love and you know, wonder and beauty for them. And okay, the gods are all wonder and love and beauty for me too, but they also have dark sides, right? You know, they get angry, right? They're not all of them are about preaching peace all the time. Some of them are very much
Right.
about war. You know, some of them are very much about, you know, get angry and some people aren't comfortable working with that type of energy, right? So that understanding can create difficulties, especially when witches come over from something like the New Age movement and they're like, oh, be positive all the time. Well, my gods aren't always positive, you know? They sometimes they're pissed off, and sometimes I call on them because I'm pissed off and I want to work with that pissed off energy about the thing that pisses us both off, you know? So I don't know, is that something that you run into? Do people have that same idea that like, and do you experience dark sides to the Orisha and Loa, or is it seen like how do you work with that? How do you see it?
Oh, there's lots of dark sides.
So I'm getting like a paused frame here and the laugh kind of jerked. I'm sorry if I'm interrupting. Oh, there you are. Okay, I was starting to hear you again.
Okay, good. You don't put together, you know, throwing things. So if it's energy place, yeah. So, but hey, there was a. I there's a lot of sort of try adding her again.
Okay, I think I'm back with you now.
Okay.
I got a lot of. I hope it came through. I did not hear what you said at all. I am hoping that it all came through on the recording, and I apologize for whatever these issues are. I don't know. I heard something about sunspots, so maybe we're having satellite problems. Sorry if it's ruining the show.
I didn't see you for a while there, so.
Okay, no, that's fair enough. I will listen. I'm eager to hear what you had to say, so I will listen to it when we're done too, and see if I can. I hope so, because I was really curious, and it sounded like you had some great stories there, because I heard a lot of laughing. So.
It's like there's a delay. The
Yeah.
technology. All right. So what did I say? I said, well, not as he answers you.
Yeah, I don't know. Technology isn't always perfectly friendly, is it? Um, I think I've basically personally covered everything that I thought was like, a good introduction as to what the Wiccan perspective on deities are. And so, I don't know. I'm thinking maybe we might want to call this a night pretty soon because of the technical difficulties. And if we have more to say, maybe we want to do a part two. I don't know if we want to do a part two, but I'm thinking either way. This is I don't know. What do you think?
I think that sounds good. We can call it a night and do a part 2 in 2 weeks.
All right, that's brilliant. Well, sorry for the technical difficulties, everybody. Well, since I'm not hearing Lilith, I will say bye, everybody, now. And I will see you. We hopefully will see you in 2 weeks with part two. And this was a lot of fun, except for the delay, whatever it is.
All right, I'm back officially. Good night, everybody.